Okay, so you already know that my aesthetic is kind of a mess, but today you're going to get to know my book taste. Hi, I'm Naomi from the Mixed Up Desk, and welcome to my channel. So this is a book tag started by Marinus and Sam, who I will tag below. And since I am very new to BookTube and you have no idea what my reading tastes are, I thought this was a great one to hop onto. I'm going to answer these 15 questions, and by the end of the 15 questions, you should have a pretty good idea about my taste in books. Okay, so the first question is, how do you rate books? Give a quick rundown of how you do your star ratings, or if you don't use star ratings, how you evaluate books. I use star ratings. I tried to give up star ratings, and that didn't work for me at all. My star ratings are very much based on vibes and whether or not I think the book is well written. So 5 stars is, wow, I thought this book was incredible. I'm going to tell everybody about this book. This book had a great story. In addition to having a great story, the book was really, really well written. And usually if I'm rating a book 5 stars, it's because the book made me really feel something. It moved me in some way. And I think that everything I just said was kind of a lie, because I actually have another kind of 5-star read. And that is just if I really, really enjoyed my time reading it and I couldn't put it down. And there is a difference between a very well-written book with a great story and then just a great story that I had a lot of fun with, and both can be 5-star reads for me. 4-star read for me is still a very, very good book. It is a book I loved. It is a book that I will talk about, but there was just something missing. And often I can't even put my finger on what that is. It's just everything didn't work for me. And this could be that I felt that one of the characters was underdeveloped in a little bit way, or the plot didn't fully resolve, or it resolved too fast. But there was just something very small holding me back from giving that book a 5 stars. And now I'm going to skip 3 stars and I'm going to jump to 2 stars, because 2-star and 1-star are a little bit easier to explain for me. So a 2-star read means I did not like this book. I see that you probably can write a little bit, but I did not enjoy this. There was something very wrong with it for me, whether that was plot or characterization or the language. There was just something that did not work at all. And I actively hated reading it, but I needed to power through because I had already committed and I was going to talk about it. Now, a 1-star review for me is, don't pee me oh. You are peeing me oh. I am really P-O'd. Like, how did this get written? What were you thinking? But then also too, what was your editor thinking? What was your agent thinking? Why did they publish this? And who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? And I am truly not one of these people who are afraid to get online and give a 1-star review. In fact, if I'm reading a book and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a 1-star review, I am just waiting to get online and talk about how much it peed me oh. I am. Now, a 3-star review was, the book was fine. You have skill. I kind of enjoyed it. I'll never talk about it again. I'll never think about it again. I enjoyed it while I was doing it, but probably I'd want to pick a better book next time. I don't know. 3 stars still a good review, in my opinion, kind of, but not. Like, I feel like a lot of what I read is 4 or 5-star reviews or 2 or 1-star reviews. I don't know. So the second question is, how do you approach reviewing books? What is your review style? Are you analytical, emotional, casual, or structured? I think it really depends, because I think I can be all 4 of those things. And I think I could be sometimes all 4 of those things in the same video, or also very separately. In my mind, I'm very analytical all the time. In reality, I can be a little bit lazy, okay? I suffer. And I feel like if I recognize early on that I'm really going to want to delve deeper into the book, I'm like, okay, hold on. I'm doing the audio. Let me grab the physical. Let me grab my tabs and highlighter. Let me get a notebook. Let me start writing down my thoughts now. Because after I finish a book, 2 days after the book is finished, I don't know who's who. I don't know what's what. You know those people who get online and they're like, are you even retaining any information? I don't even remember what I ate for lunch yesterday most of the time. My ADHD is bad. So I think one of my goals for this year is to definitely be more analytical in the reviews that I give. But this video is feeling really casual too, guys. I don't know. So number 3 is, what's the book that made you a reader? Whether it was your first favorite or one that got you hooked, what book started it all? Wow, this is such a good and difficult question to answer. I think growing up, I read a lot of Fear Street. I read a lot of Christopher Pike. So I've always been a horror lover. And then recently I picked up The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. Now, as an Indigenous person growing up, there was always Louise Erdrich, who's absolutely amazing. But when I discovered that, oh, there are Indigenous writers writing in genre fiction and they're as good as Stephen Graham Jones, oh, I'm so hooked. So if you've been sleeping under a rock and you don't know who Stephen Graham Jones is, he is one of the best horror writers in the game right now. The Only Good Indians is probably his most well-known book, and it is one of my favorite books of all time. The book follows 4 Blackfeet men who are haunted by something that they did in their youth. This is such an incredible story of revenge. This book is often referred to as a book in the literary horror genre. I know a lot of people do not like that term. They find it elitist, but the term serves a purpose for me. I am easily able to identify books that would be in my taste, would fit my taste. And that's not to say that I don't like horror books that aren't literary horror, but it's a genre. I'm sorry, it's a genre. Do you have a genre niche? Are there genres that you gravitate towards, or do you read widely? I am a wide reader. I have my hands in a little bit of everything. And I honestly feel like this makes reading so much more difficult for me. I am also a mood reader. So I was an English major. I love literary fiction. I love poetry. I love horror. I just started reading romance. Love a good mystery, thriller, and I just discovered cozy mystery. So now I love cozy mystery. I love... Am I missing any genres? I love them all. Love historical fiction, love a sweeping multi-generational saga, love a historical horror. I think historical horror is really having a day right now. We've got Victor Laval's Lone Women. We got Tananarive Dew's The Reformatory, Stephen Graham Jones' new book, The Buffalo Hunter, about vampires in the American West. Stephen Graham Jones, it's another story of revenge. I cannot wait to read this one. Alma Katsu's The Hunger, which follows the Donner Party, is another favorite historical horror book that I love. Also, love a good gothic. I love Isabel Cañas, Vampires of El Norte and the Hacienda. Really looking forward to her new one coming out this year, The Possession of Alba Diaz. Huge fan of Sylvia Moreno Garcia and everything she writes. However, you may find this very interesting. Mexican Gothic is almost my least favorite book of hers. I think Gods of Jade and Shadow is at the bottom for me right now. Beautiful Ones is at number 1. Daughter of Dr. Moreau, which I think is going to be a TV show, is at number 2. Certain Dark Things is way high up there, and Silver Nitrate as well. I didn't read her last one, The Seventh Veil of Salome, and she also has a book coming out this year, which is going to be a selection for my Women in Horror book club, and you can find that down below. It's called The Bewitching. And Isabel Cañas' book, The Possession of Alba Diaz, is also going to be a selection for my Women in Horror book club. I got into cozy mystery last year when I read Jessie Q. Sutanto's Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. That book was so drop dead funny. Absolutely loved it, ate it up, and then immediately went to read the first book in her Auntie series, Dial A for Aunties. Hilarious. She also writes thrillers, and I read a thriller of hers last year. It's called You Will Never Be Me. It's about 2 mommy bloggers, and one gets more popular than the other one. What an excellent social commentary and thriller. And the woman still manages to be hilarious. You Will Never Be Me is what I wanted Yellowface to be. I thought there was such a great opportunity for Yellowface to not only have like all of this social commentary, but also to be like a really good thriller. And it just fell a little flat for me. And I am a fan of R.F. Kuang. I really enjoyed The Poppy War. I liked Babel, but I felt the same way about Babel like I felt about Yellowface, that it was really an introduction to someone who has never studied this kind of stuff before. Both could have easily been a collection of essays for me. I think Babel did better with the story. It was kind of like a beating over the head, like, okay, white people, you really need to get this into your head. And like, I agree, a lot of them do, but it wasn't a fit for me. I am really looking forward to Catabasis, and I hope it handles this a little bit better. We'll see. Okay, so for romance, and I'm limited on the romance that I've read. So I can tell you the romance book that I hated was The Hating Game. I learned that I really do not care for an office romance, and I think it's because I work in an office. I don't care about people fighting for a promotion, an Excel spreadsheet. Like, get out of my face. This is so freaking boring to me. Also found the main character of that book absolutely insufferable. But that is the only one that I've read that I've hated so far. I have read Adriana Herrera's Los Leones series, and I'm obsessed with it, especially the third book. The third book, I knew the third book was going to be my favorite because it was the doctor story, and obviously there's a lot that you can touch upon, and she did it so well. Love the notes at the back about the research and the history. I love a book that tells you what they read for the research. That is like my favorite thing. Also a huge fan of Tia Williams. 7 Days in June was one of my favorite books now, and I am really looking forward to the new book coming out that focuses on the daughter's story. I thought that book was perfect. I really did not like A Love Song for Ricky Wilde. I thought the main male character was absolutely insufferable. I thought all of the other characters, including the side characters, were great, but I just did not believe that love story at all. I have read all of Emily Henry's books so far, and I really liked them all. They were all 4 or 5 star reads for me. If I had to pick a favorite, it would be between People We Meet on Vacation, which people say is nobody's favorite, but I loved that one. And Friends to Lovers doesn't seem like something that I would like at all, because what do you mean? What do you mean you've known each other forever and you just are figuring out you're in love with each other? Are you dumb? But I really liked that one. And then I also really liked Funny Story. So between those two, and we'll see what her new one does this year. Berkeley, send it to me now, please. I read Julie Soto's Not Another Love Song, and this is like the kind of work drama that I would like. Like, they have a unique job. They're in the orchestra. They're a little bit of rivals. That book was good. I have so much romance on my TBR right now. I love historical romance. I need to read Kennedy Ryan. I need to read these cowboy books. Danica Nava, author of The Truth According to Ember, which I also loved, has a new book coming out this year that is about a cowboy and a pop star, and I'm going to eat it up. If you haven't heard me say this already, we need more Indigenous romance. Okay, so for thrillers, my go-tos. S.A. Cosby. Hasn't written anything that I haven't loved yet. Razorblade Tears, fantastic book. Sort of like everything is go, 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 and you're like, holy shit, let me catch my breath, dude. And also Vanessa Lilly, who wrote Blood Sisters, and the second book is coming out this year. That book is about a Cherokee archaeologist who has to go back to the reservation to do some work on missing women, and one of the missing women ends up being her sisters. Couldn't put it down, kept going. Another one that I loved is Penance by Eliza Clark. This was a story about a crime committed by teenage girls on a teenage girl, and it was told in a multimedia format. So you got blog posts, you got newspaper articles, you got journals, you have interviews with the criminals, by which I mean the kids. And it was really such a great, smart critique on true crime as a pastime. For literary fiction, recent favorites include Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange, Martyr by Kaveh Akbar, and they're best friends in this really, really cute way. If you haven't checked that out yet, they just did like a road trip of California bookshops. Super cute. And then their honorary best friend, Nanakwama Ajay Brenya, who wrote Chain Gang All-Stars, also one of my favorite books. I also read fantasy and sci-fi, although I'm heavier on the fantasy than I am the sci-fi. I loved Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. And I loved The Morrow Thieves by Sherry Demeline. I loved House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson, which is like a sapphic vampire gothic. I love The House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. And I also love The Devil and Mrs. Davenport by Paulette Kennedy, which was like a 1950s gothic. Now, I've always said that Rebecca is one of my favorite books, but the truth is that I haven't read Rebecca in like 15 years. And I said I was going to read it this year, so please hold me accountable. So the next question, because I could just sit here and talk about all of these books that I loved all day, let me move on right now. The next question is, do you generally prefer character-driven or plot-driven stories? Can I be annoying again and say I love them both? If somebody gives a review on a book and says nothing happened in this book, I know that I will probably still really enjoy that book. I really like to know what drives people, what motivates people, why they make the decisions that they make. And that's why I think character-driven plots are great. But I also just love a crazy wild story. Wait, that reminds me. Let me go, and speaking of crazy wild stories, let me go back to two of my favorite books and a subgenre that I'm absolutely obsessed with. So I loved The Ruins by Scott Smith and This Wretched Valley by Jenny Kiefer. These are both horror books. These are both like wilderness horror books. The Ruins will ruin you. Actually, also a strong recommendation for The Ruins, the movie, because the author also wrote the script. And in the movie, he takes all of the characters and everything that happened to the characters and he mashes it up. And so it happens to someone else. So it's like almost a brand new story. Ruins follows these young people on a vacation to Mexico. They're at a resort. One of their brothers or somebody, their friend, goes to do an archaeological dig, goes missing, never comes back. They go out to find him. The indigenous people who are living in this small remote village are like, yo, 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 don't go there. And do you know what they did? They went there. And this will teach you to listen to the people of the land because none of them had a good time. And in This Wretched Valley by Jenny Kiefer, the airplane with these people on it goes missing. People have gone missing in the area before. And they also don't have a good time. I need more wilderness horror. If you have any recs, please drop them below. Question. I don't even know if I really answered the last question. Anyway, we're moving on. What's a book that you love so much that you don't care if others don't like it? What's that one book you love enough for everyone? Oh, what a good question. I am going to go with The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw, who is, I feel like, a very divisive author. A woman's husband dies, and so she gets a job at an aquarium, and she meets this octopus. And the octopus is a character in the book. If you haven't read it yet, this is your sign. In your trash pocket, what books, tropes, or themes do you know are bad, but you love them anyway? I am going to argue that no trope is bad. Tropes just might not be for some people, and that's okay. But I think that even if it's a trope that you don't particularly like, it can be done well. And the problem is that writers are writing books with just the trope in mind. So it's not coming from the actual story. It's like trope first and then build the story around the trope because they think that's what will sell. And I think that's where we run into a lot of problems. So I'm just going to talk about some tropes that I really enjoy. I love an enemies to lovers, like real enemies, they're about to kill each other. But I also prefer arrivals to lovers. Friends to lovers, I'm like, how did you not know, you dummy? I think I said that earlier, but I still like it if it's done well. Love a haunted house. Love a wilderness is going to get you if you F around because you're going to find out. I love that. I love fungal horror, which is a great subgenre. Do you have any deal breakers in books? Something that if present immediately turns you off in a book. I don't really care for pregnancies unless we're talking about like it's a horror book. I don't want to read pregnancies and romance like at all. Any book written by a white man that has like heavy racism in it, I don't want to read it. I don't. Hey, what's a strong opinion that you have about a book that came out in the last year? Whether it's overrated, underrated, or just a take you need to share. Strong opinion about Diavola by Jennifer Thorne. And that opinion is, it is absolutely criminal it is a crime that this book did not make it to the final round for the Bram Stoker Award. I'm sorry, what were you thinking? This is one of the best horror books of last year, if not the book that should win the award. I'm sorry. It actually makes me really angry. What do you look for in writing? What makes a book stand out to you? Is it a prose, style, themes, voice, structure, or something else? It's really all of the above. Themes, yes. Great story, yes. Writing, yes. And not every book is going to have everything that I love. I love them all. I love all the books. I don't love all the books. I love all the books that I think are done well. This is such a good question. How do you decide what to read next? Do you plan ahead, mood reader, or follow external factors like hype recommendation arcs? Okay, I am a mood reader, and it's really funny because I am a mood reader who now has like 3 different TBR jars that I want to read out of. So I made 3 shelves. 2 of these TBR jars are all of the books on these 3 shelves, and they have 5 books from every genre and subgenre that I love. So we've got horror, romance, cozy mystery, mystery, thriller, literary fiction, poetry, nonfiction, all of it, right? Then I created Indigenous Book Bingo to get people reading and talking about more Indigenous books, and that has 50 books on it. Now, I haven't read all 50 of those books, so I also have a TBR jar to keep me on track to reading some of those books, at least one of those every month. And then I have not 1, but 2 book clubs because I just love everything. So I've got my Indigenous book club. It's called Good Day to Read Indigenous. Link is below. And Women in Horror. So I read one of the Indigenous book club books. I read Women in Horror book. I read my 3 shelf TBR shelf. I read Indigenous Book Bingo. So that's 4 books. I've already committed to 4 books. I am in multiple book clubs. I don't participate in any of them. I love you. I want to support. I'm there. I'm not reading the book. What else? Sometimes I do hop on what's popular. I don't really ever read arcs on time unless it's an audio arc from PRH Audio, or is it Libro? Yes, I'm in their ALC program too. And so if there's a book that I'm super looking forward to and I have the audiobook, I'm going to read that one. You could make any book go viral right now. What would it be? A book that you think deserves more attention and why? I am going to go with Council of Dolls by Mona Susan Power. This book follows 3 different Indigenous women throughout history, and it's told from the perspective of their dolls. It is so interesting. It's so moving. It's so heartbreaking. You have to read this. Go read it right now. Get offline, get off YouTube, like, follow, subscribe, whatever they say. Do that all right now and then go read this book. You will thank me. And then finally, who are some booktubers with reading tastes similar to yours? Everybody, because my taste is all over the place. I'm also fairly new to YouTube, so I don't know who all of the YouTubers are. I expect that many of the people that I'm connected to, I'm also connected to on TikTok, and my taste pretty much aligns with everyone, except I don't really read dark romance. I hope that gives you more of an idea of what my tastes are. I don't know that it will, honestly. The shelves, the TBR jars, I don't know. Also, think I forgot to talk about my love of nonfiction, and I'm not going to edit that back in. So just know that I also read nonfiction, and I love to read books about nature. I love to read books about the tarot and astrology. I love to read books on social justice. I love to read books on true crime. I am all over. I love a good memoir. I'm all over the place in my nonfiction, but I really like that as well. I am now sitting here thinking about all of the books that I'm going to have to go and edit into this video, and it's giving me anxiety. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learning a little bit about me and my taste. If you make a video like this, come and let me know in the comments so I can go and watch it. I really want to get to know more booktubers and know about everybody's reading taste, and stay tuned for my TBR jar pick for next month, because next month is like in 1 week and I think I've read 1 book this month. Before I say goodbye, if I piqued your interest with my Women in Horror or Good Day to Read Indigenous book club, please feel free to join those. I've put the link below. I am also a tastemaker and publisher with Bindery Books. My imprint Bougie Books is looking for their first book, publish exclusively Indigenous books. The easiest way to support me is to become a free follower of my reader community on Bindery, and I've also put that link below. We truly have to start supporting alternate models of publishing. Okay, that's it. That's the end. I'll see you next time.